Well, Gaffer, I suppose this is the disappointing part of the job and the hard part of the job, really. Releasing players, it's part and parcel of a manager's role. 7 have gone today. You must be disappointed.
It's, I believe, probably the hardest part of the job in managing people and having to release young players, and certainly players that have come through and been with you for a while. It's a tough thing to do, and it's never easy sitting with these young players who have that ambition, and it's a tough part of the job, I must say.
Most of those 7 have been out on loan. They've spent the season at other clubs. How do you feel that has benefited them?
Yeah, the players that we've obviously, the young players, that's a tough enough job, Steve-O, is that, them boys have been in the youth team, they've had a small taste of going out on loan to the pyramid clubs. I think it's benefited them greatly. When I arrived here, there were players that were happy sitting in the stand, and I didn't want that. I feel that they've got to be able to play in men's football and understand it, and it makes them grow up quickly, and I think it's benefited nigh on all of them. I don't want people sitting in the stand, and I believe that it'll benefit those players. And sadly, when you have to let players go, but hopefully it's given them a taste for what the real world's about in terms of footballing structure.
In a nutshell, what factors do you consider when you decide to either release them or keep them on?
Well, I must say that the toughest part is obviously for the club where we are at the moment, is that I can't continue having as a development squad, if you like, where if you look at perhaps what Nigel Clough's done at Derby County, he's tried to bring in some young players who are not quite ready. Unfortunately, we made a decision last year to dispose of the reserves due to different reasons, and certainly for keeping the club in mind regarding that. It's very expensive to run a reserve side, and you pick up injuries as well, injuries and suspensions. So we don't have that facility, and obviously I have to look at that where I'm going to develop a squad for next season and making those decisions.
You speak about decisions, you've still got decisions to make. There are still players, more senior players now, that are out of contract. When do you expect to announce your retained list?
Well, we've got a nucleus of players retained, but certainly they're players I've got to make decisions on. Obviously the chairman and the board have got to make not things aware, but likewise what we are trying to do is make sure we're structured right for next season. And I can't work with a bigger squad as I've had, but likewise this year the boys that have gone out alone, it's been cost effective. They've not cost us anything. They've gone out there, and I've tried to develop that, and I'm going to be working with a smaller squad next season, so I've tried to help the players understand that. And certainly there's doing what I've had to do today is never easy, because you've got genuinely good people. They are good kids, and I believe that they've all got an opportunity, and I hope that they understand it's certainly not personal, but whilst we have decisions to make, I've got a squad to assemble for next season.
When do you expect then to discuss terms with new players or otherwise?
Well, I'm working closely with the chairman and the board on that, and that some things will materialise with some of them sooner, I hope. Hopefully we may have some good news on some of those professional contracts that we will be handing out to players in the near future.
These players, of course, that were released today, most of which have come through the youth system. At the minute, are you content with its structure?
It's something that the club and I, the chairman, the board and myself are looking at, and obviously there's going to be a lot of people out there at the moment considering what new structure, if there is going to be a new one, or will it remain the same. It does come down to a lot of finance, I must say, and we want to do as best for the community and best for the youth players of Mansfield Town Football Club. We're very conscientious of that, so again I'm working very closely with the board, and hopefully we can have an idea on that soon. Certainly Mike Whitlow's done a very good job inside as head of youth, and he really has developed the younger players, and certainly underneath the under 18s. there's some good young prospects there, and we must obviously consider the syllabus that we put in there. But they've done well. They've done all good. It's never easy, and when this is conference football now. This is not league football. And that's where we want to get. And obviously, when the club itself must make sure it's got a balance, and we must make sure that the first team squad as an area where people can improve, to go to. They want to have an ambition, don't they, these young players? But it's got to be right for the football club.
Do we help them now, those players that have been released, find new clubs?
Yeah, that's one thing that you'll never ever find with us, is that we try to help all the young players, and we will do it. We've given the suggestion, if they need any help in terms of finding new clubs, we'll work greatly with them and help them as much as we possibly can. And all the players have understood what we've said to them today. We want them to continue their learning path, but as a club at the moment, we just can't afford to keep everybody on, and I would love to have that opportunity, and I'm sure that and the chairman would want that as well. And we do wish them well. We've worked with them for some of them longer than others, and they're very good personalities and good young players. There's a number of clubs who we have a very good relationship with, and we'll be certainly ringing them up and giving them very good references.
It's often said, isn't it, that this league in the Blue Square Premier is a very physical and demanding league. Are you of the opinion that these young players need to be of a certain stature already at the age which they are now, 17, 18, to get in your squad in order to compete?
I think that compete is the word, certainly. We've seen the likes of Ben Turner and Grant Ryan and Tom Naylor this year go out probably a year later than they should have done, and go out on loan, and they've developed fantastically well. Neil Allison at North Ferriby's been extremely pleased with Ben. Tom Naylor has done wonderfully well at Belper. Grant's done fantastically well down at Chase Town. And they're teams that certainly are looking out for good young talent from the likes of ourselves. But the ability to compete at this level is interesting, because I think if you play in the Premier League when you're 18, you don't get touched. It's about fluency, about speed, and thought process, and you don't get hurt in tackles. If you come to the conference, it's a different type of play, isn't it? It's certainly a battling quality and physical attributes that you do need, and you don't want to hurt these youngsters by putting them in too early. And you certainly know that. We recognised that last year with Tom when he played against Altrincham. He had a wonderful game as a centre half, showed his pace and his ability. But I feel that if he'd have come up against perhaps a Morrison or a Fletcher in that year, he may have been hurt. His confidence and his progress may have been halted because of that. So they're things that you have to keep an eye on.
And in terms of next season, as you look to forge a new squad for the next campaign, we know that your squad is going to be smaller. That's a fact. Having said that, do you know how many fresh faces you're looking to bring in right now as we speak? Fresh faces?
No, there's lots of decisions to be made, and I've got to sit quietly and confidently with the chairman and the board, and we'll make them decisions accordingly. Obviously there are players out there that are out of contract, and when I've got that ability to sit down and talk to them, I will do. But we're working very positively, we must say that, very positive, and certainly we believe in this football club, and the chairman and the board are doing as much as they can, and I will certainly know more soon, hopefully, and we'll be able to look at that. But as for fresh faces, it's not just about fresh faces, it's about maintaining our levels and making sure that we can hopefully push on as well, because whilst we all recognise we would have liked to have been in a playoff spot at least this year, we're hoping to improve on that and bringing in the type of players that we can to improve on our position.
So 7 players gone today, but for you still there are more decisions to be made on other players.
Yes, certainly there are, and I say that I've got some tremendous characters at the club, some players who by choice wanted 1-year deals, and they'll be out of contract soon. There'll be some that have got clauses in their contracts that we will engage on. and there'll be players there that we'll sit down with if they're out of contract, and if we feel that we can get them at the right price and certainly find the suitable wages, then there may be some that we want to continue anyway.
Thank you.
Pleasure.